my partner in the group.
هلو دكتور. هاي.
يا تامر، ازيك؟ اخبارك ايه؟ صباح الخير.
صباح النور.
Oh, did you leave AUC, doctor?
Did I leave AUC?
Yes.
No, I'm still teaching.
Oh, but in fall and spring you're not available in summer.
No, I don't do summer because part-timers do not do summer. But
Okay.
I'll be teaching next semester, inshallah.
Could you tell me about your story about the Muslim Brotherhood? Because he didn't hear it before. Because I will never forget it. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's the story of what happened in Egypt over the past 7 years after the revolution. Because I was one of those who very much believed in the January 25th revolution and the need to build a modern democratic state in Egypt. And as you know, we've witnessed so many changes since January 25th. On one hand, I very much believe in democratic elections. And I hope that the Muslim Brotherhood, after they got elected, they would have respected their promises and their pledges to fulfill the demands of the Egyptian people. During the January 25th, they gave up. They wanted to build what I think was a religious state in Egypt. They insisted on drafting a constitution on their own. And after the constitution was approved, we started having protests against the Muslim Brotherhood, ending up in basically June 30, in which millions of Egyptians went out to protest against the Muslim Brotherhood. After the revolution, I joined the Dastur Party, which is one of the new parties that was created after 2011 by Dr. Mohammed al-Baradei. I was the spokesman for the Dastur Party, and after that, when all the parties that opposed the Brotherhood united together under the National Salvation Front, I became the spokesman of the National Salvation Front, explaining our point of view, why we oppose the Muslim Brotherhood, why we wanted early presidential elections. And unfortunately, 3 months after the removal of Mohammed Morsi, I think it was in October 2013, I was driving my car, and unfortunately there was a demonstration that was taking place by the Muslim Brotherhood supporters at that time, very close to where I was driving my car. Unfortunately, they recognized my face from probably TV interviews that I used to do a lot at that time. And as soon as they recognized that this is the Khaled Dawood that they saw all the time as a spokesman for the National Salvation Front, they started throwing stones at my car, and they surrounded my car, forced me to stop, and afterwards they started breaking the windows of my car, and one of the young men, probably at that time, he had a knife in his hand, so he basically stabbed me twice on my left side, because that was the side they were attacking me from. They broke all the windows of the car, so because they wanted to get me out of the car, they couldn't open the doors for some reason that I didn't understand, but they couldn't open the doors, so they broke all the windows, and they tried to pull me out of the car, but I had my seatbelt on, so that's a good thing to have the seatbelt on. So basically, they couldn't pull me out because I had my seatbelt, but then another person, after I was stabbed with the knife, he became apparently very angry, and he decided that he wanted to cut my left arm, and he got my left arm out, and he had the knife in his hand as well, and he started trying to chop my hand off, which was of course very painful. And until a group of people who live in the neighborhood, maybe 2 or 3 people, saw that all these guys are trying to beat one person up. So they came close to my car and they pushed them away. And basically that's how I was saved. I mean, after so much beating, because it was not only the knives, they were hitting me with sticks, with punches, with many things, you know. So basically I sort of fainted after a while, seeing all the blood and all this beating. And fortunately enough, alhamdulillah, these guys, they managed to get me out of the car and they took me to hospital. And I spent like 18 days in hospital. Of course, I'm okay now. I mean, 5 years later almost, but my left arm still doesn't work properly because when the guy tried to cut my hand, so my 3 fingers are not working properly. I have 3 fingers that are like relatively dysfunctional. But I stayed in politics. And I continued to be a member of the school party. And like almost 2 years ago, I was elected as the president of the school party. And I'm still demanding democracy and human rights in Egypt, because even though we removed the brotherhood, the regime or the government that came afterwards unfortunately also did not fulfill their promises or agreed to build the modern democratic state that we wanted in Egypt. So the fight goes on. That's basically what happened.
And what were the legal actions that he took against the people who hit you?
I personally took no legal action. There was the people who came to save me. They managed to arrest one young man. I mean, he was like 20 years old or something. And they said that he's the one who stabbed me. I'm not personally sure, because there were like at least 15 to 20 people who were beating me up and stabbing me all the time. So this young man, he's 20 years old. He was sentenced to 5 years imprisonment. And I think he was released like a month ago as part of an amnesty. He almost finished the 5 years. So basically, this was the only legal action. I very much wanted the person who tried to cut my hand to be arrested, but I mean, he ran away. So basically, there was nothing that was done to him. So that was the only legal sort of consequence of the attempt to attack me.
Can you describe yourself in one word, dear doctor?
In one word?
Yes.
You can elaborate afterwards.
That's a tough one. What can you say? I'm a believer, you know, if that counts.
Mm-hmm.
That's one word. One word or one sentence?
I was asking about sentence now.
Okay. No, I believe that the Egyptian people deserve much better. I believe that we deserve a country where we enjoy our rights, whether political rights or economic rights, which is very important. I think that the Egyptian people were very courageous when they came out on January 25th revolution, and summarizing the demands of the Egyptian people, this very brilliant slogan about عيش حرية عدالة اجتماعية كرامة إنسانية, because that's basically what we want: bread, freedom, social justice, and human dignity. We have many bright young people who have very good education and who can build a very good country where we can have better economic opportunities. And I still believe that this day will come, inshallah.
So where do you think Egypt's going now? Like, where do you think we're going to stand in like a couple of months or a year?
Well, I'm very, very disappointed with the current policies of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. I think that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi did not learn the lessons of former President Hosni Mubarak. He's following almost the same policies. He's basically repeating even the same arguments, such as that the Egyptian people are not ready for democracy, that we need another 25 years, I'm 50 years old, and I've been hearing this argument that we're not ready and that we need 20 or 30 years since I was a child. So, and these 25 or 30 years, they never stopped. I think that President Sisi is committing a very big mistake by cracking down on freedom of expression. As a journalist, this makes me very sad because I've been working as a journalist for 30 years, and I don't think that we've witnessed circumstances in which we have restrictions on freedom of expression, such as the ones that we suffer right now. Newspapers, whether private or government, of course, they all get directions on what to report, what not to report. The websites, the internet, it was basically an open field for us to express ourselves. Right now, this is one field where the Interior Ministry and the security agencies pick up young people and arrest them because of writing a post or writing a comment on Facebook or on Twitter. We had many news websites that were basically blocked. We have almost 500 news websites that are blocked. So I think this is a major retreat. And also on the economic side, I think that President Sisi is not setting his priorities right. Again, all this talk about big national projects such as the Suez Canal, the new administrative capital, the Jabal Galela, the 1.5 million housing units. I think the Egyptian people deserve that we work on education, on healthcare, that this should be our priority. If we have any money, we don't have a lot of money. The entire regional situation is difficult. But if we have any money, if we're going to borrow money from outside, such as what President Sisi has been doing, this money should go to benefit the Egyptian people. We always say we need to invest in the Egyptian human being and not just invest in so-called mega projects that only a few people are going to be able to benefit from. I mean, we don't need to waste 400 billion Egyptian pounds to build a new administrative capital, whereby people are going to buy an apartment there for like 2 or 3 million Egyptian pounds, while the average Egyptians continue to get a very small salary of 1,200 Egyptian pounds.
Doctor, do you have a favorite quote?
A favorite quote? I have one, but it's in Arabic. It says, "Ya azma shtaddi tanfarigi."
Ya azma shtaddi what? Sorry?
Tanfarigi. Yani the more it gets tight, inshallah, one day it will open up. Ya azma shtaddi tanfarigi.
So what advice do you give to us, like students and young people?
To believe in yourselves, to believe in yourselves and to believe in your capabilities and to believe that we actually deserve better, not to give up. This country is a great country, not to blame the people, but to blame ourselves. Those educated elite, we need to find ways to change the country. We should not just say, oh, those people will never change. But
most of us want to
think that you need.
Yeah, most of us want to leave the country. Like after we finish, after we graduate, we want to leave the country.
I know, not just the young people. Many people want to leave the country. But if all the bright people leave the country, I think things will not change. I used to live in the United States for 9 years before the January 25th revolution. And what made me return to Egypt was the January 25th revolution. And I was not alone. Lots of many people, actually, I know friends who worked in the States, who had PhDs, very good education. They also wanted to return to Egypt to take part in building a better country. So as soon as the circumstances are available for this, I have no question that Egypt is full of talents that will be able to make us a better country. We're not less than any other nearby country, and I'm not going to talk about Europe or the United States. I'm going to talk about African nations like South Africa, Uganda, Nigeria. I can even speak about some Asian countries, Indonesia, Malaysia, or Latin American countries, that have circumstances similar to us. I think we can definitely do much better, but we need to believe in ourselves and we need to continue pressing for our demands for, as I said, for bread, freedom, social justice, and humanity, inshallah.
But it was very brave of you to actually continue in politics after the lifetime experience, and you were near to death. Yeah.
mean, like, what makes me sad very much right now is the number of people who are my friends who are inside prison. Recently, they arrested the blogger Wael Abbas. They arrested my friend Shadi Al-Ghazali Harb, another friend Haifa Mohammadin. They arrested many members of the school party. Again, we call them Mu'taqali al-Wala Haga because they did nothing. Mu'taqali al-Wala Haga because all what they did was writing a post or writing a comment on Facebook, or even trying to have a small peaceful protest, for example, against the giving.
Doctor.